everything changed in a matter of seconds. The final whistle of the 2025 season blew, and the deafening silence inside that locker room, it told the entire story. You could practically feel the air get sucked out of the building. It was the crushing reality of a bitter, radically underachieving campaign crashing down on the Dallas Cowboys. The long flight home, the blank stares, the realization that all that talent had slipped right through their fingers. Welcome to NFL Nexus. Look, if you're a focused learner looking to truly understand the deeper, unseen currents of the NFL, you are in the exact right place. Do us a quick favor and subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, comment down below on what you thought, and consider supporting us by becoming a channel member. We deeply appreciate it. Today, we're bringing you a premium explainer looking at the absolute razor's edge the Dallas Cowboys are walking right now in 2026. So let's dive into this, because I'm telling you, inside the walls of this franchise, the clock isn't just ticking anymore. It is absolutely deafening. And that deafening clock forces us to ask a really stark, uncomfortable question. Is time finally up? Is this it? Now look, this isn't just your standard sports talk radio fodder where people are yelling just to get ratings. No, this is the visceral, inescapable reality inside that very building. We are looking at a franchise that is totally desperate for a championship. They are haunted, literally haunted by exactly 3 decades of playoff ghosts, 30 years. They are staring down a roster that is incredibly expensive. I mean, just suffocating against the salary cap. And they are heavily reliant on aging key executives whose patience ran out a long, long time ago. Jerry Jones has been at the helm since 1989, the dynasty of the 90s. It feels like ancient history to the guys in that locker room today. The tension right now is palpable. You can feel it in every press conference, every OTA. The margin for error here is absolute zero. You want to know why the tension is so high? The numbers speak for themselves. 7, 9, and 1. That was the dismal, shocking reality of last season. A sub-500 finish with a roster boasting some of the highest-paid, most elite athletes in the sport. And you know, it's that tie. That tie is the bitter pill that makes the entire season so agonizingly hard to swallow. It happened in Week 11 against a division rival. Just imagine it. Pouring rain, the mud, the exhaustion. They blew a 10-point lead in the final 4 minutes of regulation. 4 minutes! Followed by a grueling, sloppy, completely pointless overtime draw where nobody won. It was the ultimate failure of execution when the lights were brightest. Because of that collapse, head coach Brian Schottenheimer, entering his second year, has been handed a pure, unrelenting, do-or-die, win-now mandate. All the star power in the world means absolutely nothing if you collapse in the fourth quarter. It's a harsh reality, but talent is no longer enough. The standard in Dallas is a Super Bowl, and anything less this year is going to be treated as an unmitigated disaster.
Section 1, the ticking clock, the pressure mounts. Section 2, the Pickens commitment, and OTA absence explained.
The immense pressure we just mentioned, it isn't just sitting on the coaching staff. It is falling squarely on the shoulders of their returning offensive megastars. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb have an immense weight on them to finally break through that postseason ceiling. But the first major inflection point of this entire offseason centered around their newest offensive weapon, George Pickens. When he skipped voluntary OTAs earlier this year, alarms went off in Dallas. Panic started to set in. Was this a holdout? Was the commitment lacking? Because you have to understand, the franchise tag placed on Pickens carries a staggering weight, $27.3 million. That is a fully guaranteed cap hit for a single season. It's astronomical. The Cowboys locked him in, refusing to sign a long-term extension or trade him. And from a pure production standpoint on the field, you completely understand why. Pickens is coming off a staggering 2025 breakout campaign where he caught 93 passes for 1,429 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. He was completely dominant, unstoppable. But a tag that massive severely restricts the team from signing premier outside free agents to fill other holes. It breeds natural resentment in a locker room. With no long-term financial security beyond this year for Pickens, a messy, dramatic holdout seemed almost inevitable to anyone watching from the outside. But then, the narrative completely flipped on its head. As NFL insider Jane Slater revealed, when you're in the homes of these guys and you see how bad they want it, you can't help but be a part of that. Slater uncovered that Pickens hadn't ghosted the team at all. He had actually been working out with the core guys all offseason, privately, intensely, far away from the flashing cameras. He was literally in their homes, building chemistry. The fierce accountability of this specific Cowboys locker room completely extinguished the holdout before it could even begin. Think back to Micah Parsons' contract situation a while back, where public tension and massive media circuses became a daily distraction that sucked the oxygen out of the room. Pickens shut that noise down entirely this time. He showed up to mandatory minicamp in phenomenal shape. Caught it blistering toe-tap pass from Dak Prescott right on the sideline, did a little shimmy for the crowd, and made it crystal clear to everyone watching. He is absolutely locked in on winning a Super Bowl. The players police themselves. And let me tell you, that is a massive, monumental cultural indicator for a team with its back against the wall. Section 3. The missing piece, the edge rusher void.
So while the offense locked arms and got on the same page, the defense was staring down a glaring, dangerous vulnerability. Dallas aggressively retooled all three phases of their game, but they have a massive hole at outside linebacker. Rashawn Gary, who was brought in to be an absolute force, was a virtual no-show in the second half of last season. He was routinely swallowed up by double teams and erased from the game script. And behind him, the depth chart is terrifyingly thin for a team that has a mandate to win right now. You're looking at unproven rookies and young talent like Donovan Izaraku, Malachi Lawrence, and the wildly inconsistent James Houston. Sam Williams? He's coming off a very down season, so they need help. Enter a ghost from the past, actively trying to manifest his way into the present. Von Miller recently made his intentions crystal clear to the entire football world, stating, "It would be great to be a Dallas Cowboy. I've always had a special place in my heart for the Dallas Cowboys." He delivered this openly with RJ Ochoa at the annual SAC Summit in Las Vegas, which is this highly exclusive gathering where elite pass rushers secretly trade techniques. Well, Miller held court there and actively, publicly lobbied to return to his hometown. He pointed out that he lives just a 20-minute drive away from the Cowboys facility. His mom, who has faithfully flown to every single game of his legendary career, would finally just be able to drive down the street to watch him play. He even went as far as posting a photoshopped image of himself in a Cowboys jersey on Instagram. The lobbying is relentless, and it is entirely by design.
This puts the front office in an agonizing dilemma. On one hand, you have Von Miller, immediate Super Bowl impact. Yes, absolutely, he is an older veteran, but the underlying metrics are staggering. He posted 9 sacks in 17 games last year while only playing 37% of the defensive snaps. He is incredibly efficient with his rushes. And crucially, he has deep functional familiarity with Cowboys defensive coordinator Christian Parker from their time together in Denver. Parker's defensive scheme relies incredibly heavily on complex stunts and wide 9 alignments. It's a system that absolutely requires a veteran mind who understands leverage and read and react timing at an elite level. A raw rookie might hesitate for a fraction of a second. Von Miller doesn't hesitate. But, on the other hand, you have to weigh the cost to the future. You sign Miller and you're immediately taking vital developmental snaps away from young draft picks like Izaraku and Lawrence. Do you mortgage the future development of your youth for a 138.5 sack legend who might just have one final violent run left in his legs? It's a huge gamble.
The answer to that agonizing dilemma might just lie with the man sitting at the very top. When Jerry Jones steps up to a microphone and states, "I have a natural urgency because of my age. My immediate tomorrows are a big thing to me," you know exactly what time it is in Dallas. The advancing age of the owner and the crushing desperation of the franchise might perfectly align here. Historically speaking, when Jones feels this specific kind of pressure, he makes flashy, highly aggressive veteran moves. Think back to trading for Charles Haley in '92, or bringing in Deion Sanders in '95, to get them over the hump. This quote heavily hints that his priority right now isn't developing raw rookies for some hypothetical 2028 playoff push. No, it is hoisting a Lombardi trophy in 2026, period. In Von Miller, he fits that immediate, desperate timeline perfectly.
Section 4. The brutal gauntlet. 4 measuring stick games.
Because here's the reality. All of this offseason preparation, the George Pickens commitment, the Von Miller rumors, the intense, grueling training camp battles, it means absolutely nothing if they cannot survive an unrelenting 2026 schedule. The NFL scheduling algorithm is completely ruthless. It actively punishes actual contenders. The path to playing in January runs directly through 4 brutal measuring stick games that will ultimately dictate the legacy of this entire roster. If they stumble in these 4 games, the season is functionally over before the winter even begins. Let's break these down in detail because the specifics of what they are up against are absolutely staggering.
First up on the gauntlet, Week 4 at the Houston Texans. Now, this isn't just the cute little Battle of Texas anymore. Houston has become a bona fide AFC powerhouse. You have to go in there and defend quarterback C.J. Stroud, who has developed this uncanny, lethal ability to read post-snap safety rotations in a fraction of a second. You also have to survive a terrifying defensive front orchestrated by D'Amico Ryans. He deploys Will Anderson Jr. with a devastating cross-chop move right alongside Daniel Hunter, who turns the corner at insane angles to completely crush the pocket. And here is the kicker for Dallas. They have to go into the incredibly hostile, deafening environment of NRG Stadium immediately after hosting Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Back-to-back incredibly physical matchups against legitimate Super Bowl contenders in just weeks 3 and 4. If Dallas wants to finally shake the lingering narrative that they fold against heavyweight teams, surviving this first deadly trap is completely mandatory. Then, they barely have time to breathe before Week 6 hits, the Lambeau Field Ghosts. Look, if Cowboys fans have circled one single game in red ink, it is this one. Dallas has struggled mightily in Green Bay over the years. This isn't just football, this is deep psychological warfare. Returning to the frozen tundra under the lights, attempting to exorcise the demons of past playoff failures. I mean, everyone remembers the heartbreak of the 2014 Des Cottick game, and the recent postseason collapses against the Packers. The entire Mike McCarthy narrative hanging over their heads. Add in the fact that they are trying to avenge last year's bitter, agonizing primetime tie against Green Bay. When that wind chill hits single digits in Wisconsin, warm weather and dome teams traditionally freeze up completely. Playing in one of the NFL's most hostile mythic environments is going to be the ultimate measuring stick for Brian Schottenheimer's squad. And just when they think they've survived the gauntlet of the NFC North, Week 7 arrives, shifting the balance at the Philadelphia Eagles. We are framing this exactly as it will be, an absolute bloodbath in the trenches. This is far, far more than just a division rivalry game. The Eagles remain one of the conference's absolute elite, most physical teams. Playing away at Lincoln Financial Field with 69,000 screaming fans takes a massive physical and mental toll. You have A.J. Brown bullying cornerbacks on slant routes all day. You have Jalen Hurts pushing the pile on crucial fourth downs. You have the Eagles' monstrous offensive line trying to literally grind the Dallas defensive front into the dirt. Winning on the road in Philly doesn't just improve Dallas's record. It actively harms their biggest rival and hands Dallas a critical NFC East tiebreaker. This will be an incredibly hostile war of attrition. Finally, if they somehow manage to navigate the early and midseason without falling apart, they run into the final boss in Week 15, the Los Angeles Rams. The sheer star power on this LA roster is overwhelming. They are the team many believe are the absolute NFC favorites to go all the way. You have the reigning MVP Matthew Stafford throwing impossible sidearm passes to premier receiver Puka Nacala, and if that wasn't terrifying enough, the Rams went out and added literal game wreckers. They traded for Myles Garrett, a move that fundamentally changes the geometry of how a defense operates. Opposing offensive lines are forced to slide all their protection and use tight ends just to chick Garrett, which leaves star defensive back Trent McDuffie on an absolute island to lock down the outside receivers. This colossal late-season matchup under the bright lights of SoFi Stadium, this is the mountain Dallas must conquer to prove they truly belong among the elite.
Section 5. Do or Die. The unforgiving math. Let's be real. If Dallas cannot win at least 3 of these 4 defining games we just outlined, history is absolutely destined to repeat itself. For the last decade, this franchise's core problem hasn't been beating up on the lower tier of the league. They do that just fine. It's been folding when the lights are brightest against the league's true heavyweights. But the talent is undeniably there. Just let it sink in for a second. Dak Prescott has thrown for thousands upon thousands of yards. CeeDee Lamb is a historic All-Pro with flawless route-running precision. Whether it's a potentially incoming Von Miller or a completely locked-in George Pickens, the sheer firepower amassed on this roster both defensively and offensively is staggering. No one in the NFL is questioning the caliber of athletes wearing the star on their helmet. Furthermore, the culture is locked in. The fact that the locker room policed the George Pickens contract situation entirely on their own, going into each other's homes, putting the drama to rest, and demanding greatness from one another, that proves that there is a singular, desperate focus uniting the players inside that building right now. It is their shield against the noise. They know the immense stakes of that $27.3 million tag. They know that if they don't win now, there is absolutely no tomorrow for this exact group of men. But the storm is coming. The brutal reality of their upcoming schedule, the completely unforgiving nature of the NFC, and the crushing weight of decades of expectations are all converging on this single, solitary season. Every single mistake they make will be amplified tenfold. Every single dropped pass or missed defensive assignment could be the difference between a parade in downtown Dallas and a complete, foundational franchise teardown. And what does a teardown look like in Dallas? It means firing Brian Schottenheimer. It means Dak Prescott's entire future is thrown into jeopardy. It means trading blue-chip stars for future draft capital and starting a grueling, painful 5-year rebuild from scratch. So I leave you with this final, profound question to think about. Will they finally conquer their playoff ghosts, or is this the bitter end of an era in Dallas?
The 2026 season isn't just about winning football games anymore. It's about saving legacies before the clock runs out completely. Thank you so much for exploring this with us here on NFL Nexus. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and let us know your thoughts down in the comments. We read them all. Consider becoming a channel member to support what we do. Will Dallas survive this gauntlet? We'll see you next time as we continue to break down the most fascinating, high-stakes stories in the league.